Hi everyone, today we are going to start 10.7, which is write and graph equations of circles. Standard equation of a circle. The standard equation of a circle with center HK and radius R is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Please note that this is negative and this is negative. When our h and k values are negative, those would change to positives. And we'll have a few examples like that. But this is the form of the equation you're going to use for each of these problems. Write an equation of a circle shown. So here's our standard form of the equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Well, h and k, that is the center of the circle. So what is the center of our circle? It's 0, 0. So that means I can rewrite that coordinate hk as 0, 0. Now we need to figure out what is our r value. What is the radius? Well, the radius goes from the center to the outside of our circle. And if we count, we see that the radius is 1, 2, 3. So r is equal to 3. So now let's plug in what we know into our equation. So we have x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared is equal to 3 squared. Now, do I need to write minus 0? No. So I can simplify this to just have it say x squared plus y squared is equal to, what is 3 squared? That is 9. And that is the equation of this circle. Write the standard equation of a circle with center 0, negative 9, and radius 4.2. Well, let's start off by writing our standard equation for a circle. So here's our equation, and we know that we have a center of 0, negative 9. So this is h, this is k. So when I plug this into my equation, I have x minus 0 squared plus y minus, and k here is a negative 9, so I have to write in a negative 9 squared is equal to, now let's look at the radius. We know that the radius is 4.2, so 4.2, and we need to square that. So let's simplify. I don't need the 0 with the x minus 0, so I'm just going to keep that as x squared plus, if we have minus a negative, we know that that becomes a positive. So I now have y plus 9, and I'm going to square that, is equal to 4.2 squared. We get 17.64. So here is my standard equation for my circle. How about if our center of the circle is negative 2, 5, and our radius is 7? Remember, my first step is to write out my standard form. So now I need to plug in h and k. We know negative 2 is h, 5 is k. So this gives me h minus a negative 2 plus y minus a positive 5 is equal to, radius is 7, so I'm going to have 7 squared. When I look at this minus a negative, I know that that becomes a positive. So I have x plus 2 squared. I just realized I forgot the squared there. Plus, this doesn't simplify at all, y minus 5 squared is equal to, and then 7 squared is 49. So here is my equation of this circle. Write the standard equation of a circle. The point negative 5, 6 is on the circle with center negative 1, 3. We want to write the standard equation of the circle. All right, so we know what the center is. Center is negative 1, 3, so that would be our h and k, but we don't know what our radius is. All we know is that it tells us that this point is on the circle. So if I look at my picture, I need to determine what is that length, what is that distance. So to find the distance, I'm going to use the distance formula. So we know that the distance formula is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Once we find the distance, that would be our radius. All right, so I wanted to label my x1, y1, and I labeled x1 for -1, y1 for 3. And then I needed to label my x2, y2 with my second coordinate, -5, 6. So now that I have what all those values are, I can plug them into my distance formula. So I just plugged in my x1, y1, x2, y2 into my distance formula. So let's simplify this. So if I plug this right into my calculator, or I can simplify it part by part, I know that -5 minus a -1 is really -5 plus 1. That gives me -4. I'm going to square that. Plus 6 minus 3, well 6 minus 3 is 3. I'm going to square that. And this will simplify to 5. Now looking at our picture, we probably could have seen that the radius is 5 from going here to here. But if we didn't have a picture, this is what we would need to do. So now I have everything. I can write my equation of this circle. So I have x minus h, and we know h is -1. Squaring that, plus y minus k, and k is 3, is equal to our radius squared, which we found was 5. And we're going to square that. And lastly, let's simplify this. This minus a negative becomes a positive. So x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared, I forgot the squared again there, is equal to 25. So here is the equation of that circle. The point 3, 4 is on a circle whose center is 1, 4. Write the standard equation of the circle. All right, so once again, I don't know my radius here, so I'm going to need to use the distance formula to find my radius. Let's call this x1, y1, and we'll call this guy x2, y2. Here's my distance formula. The distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So now I'm going to plug in my x1, y1, x2, y2 into the distance formula. So now let's simplify in the parentheses. So this simplifies to, well, 1 minus 3 is -2. I'm going to square that, plus 4 minus 4, that's just 0, and we're going to square that. If you plug this into your calculator, you will see that you get the square root of 4, and this is equal to +2. So that means that +2 is our radius. So now I have everything to write out my equation. So I have x minus our h value. Well, this was the center, so this is h and this is k. So x minus 1 squared plus y minus k, well k is 4, squaring that, is equal to our radius squared, where our radius is 2. I'm going to square that, and this simplifies to x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 4. And that's my equation of this circle. Next, we're going to practice graphing circles. So I have the equation of my circle, and I need to draw it here. All right, so knowing my standard form of an equation, I can first figure out what is my radius. Well, This here is our radius squared. So if r squared is equal to 36, what is my radius? Well, we find that out by doing the square root of each side. So square root, and we get that r is equal to 6. Next, I need to figure out what is the center of the circle. Well, we know that the center is from this point and this point. When we write this out, it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. Since I have minus sign here and here, that means that 4 is our h. If I notice for the y plus 2, I have a positive sign here, which means normally it's a negative. So if we had a positive, we would have minus a negative. So the only way that would occur is if k was negative 2. So that means that my center here is 4, negative 2. Now I need to graph this. The first thing I want to do is graph 4, negative 2. So there's my center. And now I want to use my radius of 6 to figure out how large this circle is. So if I start at the center, 4, negative 2, I'm going to go over 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be one edge of my circle. Let's start back at the circle, and let's go up 6 from the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here would be my other edge. Let's start right back at the center. Let's go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And lastly, if I start at the center, let's go to the right 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I do go off the graph, but that's okay. So now this is the fun part. Now that I have my radius and my edges, I'm going to draw a very bad circle, just kind of drawing round edges around those endpoints. And there is my circle with that equation. Let's try this one more time. So same thing, we have an equation of the circle, x minus 4 squared plus y plus 3 squared is equal to 16. Let's graph the circle. Let's start with the radius. If r squared is 16, what is my value of r? Well, to figure that out, I would just need to do the square root of 16, and we know that our radius is 4. Now let's work with the center. What would be my h value? Well, if I look at my h here, I see that this negative sign is still negative, so that means h is positive, and it's positive 4. What is my k value for the center? Well, if I focus here, I notice that this is a positive. Normally it's a negative, which means that my k value is going to be negative. So negative 3. Now I have everything, and I'm going to graph my circle. We start off by graphing the center, 4, negative 3. Now I'm going to use my radius to find my 4 points along the circle. And then my last step is to just draw a very bad circle connecting these points.